of months ago, you may recall, professional organizer Nancy McKinney came in to help clean up and organize Mark's desk.
And I am proud to report my desk remains a model of organization.
It does.
Now it's time to work on my email. If your inbox is overflowing, you want to pay close attention. From Nancy from Successful Organization Solutions, she stopped by with great tips. I asked her, what are the biggest problems people have with email?
Number one is they check it all the time. Too often. Every time they sit down at their computer, what's there? It's the shiny bouncing ball and what's the newest thing, which isn't necessarily the next thing on their task list to do or what they're supposed to focus on. So that gets into productivity. And we can talk about that at some other time.
And people are checking on their phones. I mean, it's constant.
Right.
It's just let it be for a while.
Yep. And then the second thing is that you check it or you look at it and you go, okay, and you leave it all there. And it's like taking the piles of papers that come in and never make any decision on them, so they stay there. And the big problem with that is, especially in corporations, is that there's a limit on that server. And so the more you get in there, I've had some of my companies that I've worked with that if they have too much in their email, they've filled up that space that they've been allotted, they cannot send and receive. So that's a problem. So making those decisions, once you look at it, it's like the newspapers that we talked about on your desk before, as they come in, okay, you're done with them that day or that week, then get rid of them instead of continuing to pile them up.
And I found if I don't respond to an email right away, I'll forget about it and it's gone.
That's right.
Because so much stuff comes in.
Absolutely. It gets buried in the list, and all you look at are the new ones that come in. So those are the two biggest things, is checking it all the time, and then when you do check it, now making decisions on it.
Okay.
So there's several ways, and you had mentioned that you get all the faxes that come in. You get a copy of that, as well as other people in the newsroom, and you get the tip line that comes in.
Right. It's pretty constant.
Okay. So why don't we go ahead and create a rule? Why don't you find one of those tips, Mark? So let's go ahead and right-click on that email, and one of the options on your list is create a rule. And so because this is very cut and dried, because when it comes in from tips at, we're going to go ahead and send it to a folder. So on the top of that list, it says, okay, when you get it from whatever, and you want to choose the third one, that it was sent to tips at channel 3000, and put a check mark there. And then we want to move it into a folder. So that's the third one down in the bottom piece of that. Put a check mark there. It says move it to a folder. Now at this point you don't have a folder set up for tips, but it gives you the option there that you can set up a new folder. See that on the right? So go ahead and click on new, and let's just call it tips. And click OK. All right, so now go ahead and click OK, because we said when they come in. So what we've chosen here is anything that comes in from tips at channel3000.com will go into a folder called tips.
Okay.
So that's one way to very quickly help you manage those incoming emails into your inbox. And you didn't have a lot of subfolders set up, so maybe we should talk about how to move into a folder as well. So maybe something comes in and it's not from tips at channel 3000, but it is a tip and you want to move it into that tip folder. You can highlight that message, so go ahead and we'll play with this one, right? Doesn't matter, any one you want. Okay. You can actually click, hold, and drag it over to that tips folder. There you go, and release it, and now it's there. And then another way is you can actually right-click on that message now that you have it highlighted, and there's an option here to move it. So if you weren't quite sure what folder you want it to move it to, it's way down at the bottom, the second one up. There you go. And then you could choose where you want it to move it, highlight the folder and click OK, and it would move it.
Okay, that's convenient.
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways, because sometimes when you drag and drop, if you don't drop it in exactly the right spot, you're going, where did it go? And it's lost.
Well, that'll help keep things organized, that's for sure. Any other tips? Why don't you email them to me, and I'll put them in the appropriate folder.
Good advice. You could do that at home. If you get something from a lot of messages from one person, make a folder for them.
It's a great idea. Nancy has the greatest advice. She really does.
Don't keep checking it and get rid of it.
I felt like she was talking to me.
Read it and throw it away.
Yeah, good advice.